always found the hairline and the mouth were uncannily similar. I put this slide in here to give you guys an idea of the lighting conditions early in the morning. The police took this photo at about 7:15. This is Lanning's Drive. You could just make out a pool of blood and a curb right here, about a 6-inch by 6-inch pool of blood. Peggy Hetrick's body is right there. So around 7:13 that day, a 38-year-old bicyclist, Linwood Hodgson, is riding by on Lanning's, and he sees something on the field too. His initial response is, there's a mannequin out there. But he could see the pool of blood that I couldn't see from the path that I took, and he's 38 years old. A few more years of experience than me. He says, this looks like something more serious, I better go report this. And he does. The police respond and they find Peggy Hetrick's partially nude body lying face up in the field. There's a bloody drag trail, carry trail that goes 103 feet from Lanning's Drive into the field. And Peggy Hetrick's body has been sexually mutilated. Part of her left nipple her entire left nipple was cut off, and part of her vagina was excised. This is an aerial view of the crime scene, the dump site. This is the ditch that I was talking about. This ditch blocked our view of the body from our trailer house. You could just make out a blood trail right here. The police showed up at the crime scene. The original hypothesis is this is a dump site. Somebody pulled up in a car, drug the body out, dumped it in the field. The police did a neighborhood canvass, and while they did this, they stopped at my house and they spoke to my father. And my father says, yeah, I watched my son walk out through the field this morning, and normally he just goes straight through, but today he veered off suddenly to the left and went and looked at something. So the police knew they hadn't got a report from me about it, so they sent someone to the school to talk to me. So about 10 in the morning, I get called out of a typing class down to the school office. And I was met down there by a plainclothes police officer with a badge on his belt. And he said something along the lines of, my name is Detective Francis Gonzalez with Fort Collins Police. Do you know why I'm here? And when I saw a cop was there, then I knew it wasn't a mannequin, it was a body. He took me to the back of the office area at Fort Collins High School and had me fill out, or questioned me for like an hour and a half. Filled out a whole yellow legal pad full of notes, and then he took me down to the police station and asked me to fill out a witness statement, which I did, and he took me home. After he took me home, my father wasn't going to let anything change his normal routine. He went to school like normal, 6:30, left me there all by myself. 15 years old, the body of a murder victim has just showed up practically in my backyard. I was a little scared. Took all my knives out. They were usually in drawers in my dresser. Took them all out, set them on the dresser so I could get to them quickly. Pumped my BB gun up, the max 10 pumps, thinking if the guy comes after me, I'll have to aim for the eyeball because that's the only way the BB gun will get him. And went to bed like normal, 11:05. The next day was another normal day, but while at school, Fort Collins Police went to my house to search my bedroom. And so they walked into my bedroom, and what's the first thing they seen when they walked into the bedroom? They see my knife collection. This is part of it. This is the larger knives. I had switchblades, butterfly knives, and others. But this is the one that caught their eye. And then they started going through my shelves, and they see all these violent stories and all these gory drawings that I'd made. And so they picked me up at school and took me down to the police station, and they interrogated me. And this is a short clip from that interrogation.
Do you know if you would have any problems if I talked to you? No, I haven't told you. I have told you. I don't know. Did we bring you in here without some kind of proof? I think you know more than what you're telling me. You think that I did? Well, everything's pretty much looking that way, you know. You feel sorry for that girl? Yeah. Huh? Yeah. That's all I thought. I don't know. Was she walking by? Was she driving by? What happened? I don't know. Thank God we've got you here. You know, I have a hard time believing that you didn't know it was a lie. You're just was she truly alive? What happened? I don't know. I don't know.
was tag team interrogated till about 9 o'clock that night. They used every police technique they could think of. Good cop, bad cop, mommy cop. Anything they thought they could use that would get me to confess to this crime. This interview was hour after hour of grown men and women telling 15-year-old me that you did this, we know you did this, just confess and make this easier on yourself. But I didn't do nothing. I could never confess to something I didn't do. So I stuck to my guns, and after almost 11 hours of interrogation, I said the magic words, I want an attorney. And they stopped, and they let me go home. Within 2 days of the murder, before any forensic tests had been done, the police made me their prime suspect. The boyfriend, Matt Zollner, the last person to see her alive, who had a fight with her that night, he's eliminated as a suspect. The days and weeks that followed, they conducted a line search of the field where Peggy Hetrick's body was dumped. And Fort Collins police didn't have enough manpower to fill the whole line themselves, so they brought in the local sheriff's department. The sheriffs brought with them these young kids called Explorer Scouts. These are high school students. Some of them were at Fort Collins High with me. And they told them, hey, look for these body parts out in the field. So I just happened to sit next to one of the girls who took part of this line search, Kelly Charvet. And after she done the line search, she was telling us all about all these gross things they were told to look for out in the field. And she told me that the victim's nipples had been bitten off. They were actually cut off, but she told me they were bitten off. And the police, one more thing about Kelly, they told these young explorers that I was a suspect and to stay away from Tim Masters because I was dangerous. Then the police questioned my teachers at school, and they also told my teachers that I was a suspect in this homicide. So rumors spread all over the school that, by my teachers, by other students, that I was a suspect in this homicide. The result was that I was completely ostracized during high school. In 1988, Fort Collins police conducted an elaborate surveillance of the field where Peggy Hetrick's body was dumped, right around the anniversary of her murder. I think Troy talked about this a little bit, no?
You mentioned this.
Well, the surveillance was actually focused on me and my house, not so much the crime scene. They had a roving team follow me around, and they'd rented a construction trailer in the field across from my house, and they were watching my house nonstop. And years later, we find out that this wasn't just a surveillance, but a psychological experiment to see if they could make me flip out. So they wanted to get me to have some sort of incriminating response to their psychological experiment. So what they did was they placed a bogus article in the local newspaper that said my arrest was imminent. And they knew that my father and I didn't get the paper. So to make sure that I read this article, they put an envelope on the windshield of my friend's truck with that article in it, the bogus newspaper article, leaving the impression my arrest is imminent, photographs of Peggy Hetrick, and my mom's obituary. My reaction to their psychological experiment was nothing. I didn't freak out, hurt myself or someone else like they predicted might happen. In 1989, I graduated high school and enlisted in the U.S. Navy. Went to boot camp in July, graduated around, August, September. Went to my first duty station, the USS Constellation, in October. And so I thought, I'm finally away from Fort Collins, I'm done with that town. I'm in the Navy, I'm going to go see the world now. The very first place my ship goes to is the Philadelphia shipyards. I spent the next 3 years in Philadelphia. While I was in Philly, in 1992, I was suddenly sent on some mysterious duty. They told me they wanted me to go down to Virginia and work on some equipment that I'd never been trained to work on, wasn't qualified to work on. But it was a chance to get away from the ship, so I just chalked it up to a Navy screw-up and took advantage of the situation. In July of '92, right at the end of the month, I was called back to the ship. And it wasn't like, Masters, we need you to pack your stuff and be back in a couple days. It was, Masters, we need you back tomorrow. I go, that's weird. So I packed all my stuff, drove back up there, and in Philly at the local Naval Intelligence headquarters, I was met by Fort Collins police. The new lead investigator, who was Linda Holloway, came armed with an arrest warrant. She believed that I knew information known only to the perpetrator and the police, that the victim's nipples had been removed. So they proceeded to tag team interrogate me for a period covering 2 days.